This might be for life. Yeah. This might be for life. Stand up when the chief is here. Hands up. Yeah, the chief is here. Stand up when the chief is here. Hands up. Yeah, the chief is here. Yeah, this might be for life.
Hi everyone, welcome to noon Cape Town time. And I've been dying to say this, I've been thinking about it for weeks. Let's talk about sex, baby. Oh, what a corny start. Corny I am. Emma Sayle, what a great pleasure to welcome you. We met each other 1,000 years ago in London, and you've been building an amazing business since then. And I'm very, very proud of you and what you've done. And it's pretty damn amazing because it's leading edge. But we've also got the amazing Lauren Jeffrey here, just so I can be outnumbered and form a threesome here. I plan to say that. And Lauren, as you know, organizes all our Smut B&S group webinars. So we love her. She looks particularly gorgeous, and I'm glad she's here. Everyone's got their clothes on. But I'm doing this podcast from the Ideas Cartel. And Skylar Forster founded the Ideas Cartel. It's a private members club in Cape Town. It's got working space. It's got incredible rooms. And everyone should stay in the Ideas Cartel when they come to Cape Town. Work here, eat here, drink here. It's got everything. It's got golf simulator, the lot. So thank you, Skylar. And Emma, tell us, what the hell is Killing Kittens?
So it started in 2005. It was something that was kind of born out, to cut a long story short, born out of a sort of anger I had since I was little about the unbalanced world we live in. And to me, I came out in early 20s and into the dating world and thought, well, men can shag whoever they want and do whatever they want and get high-fived and they're absolute legends, and and the girls, it didn't matter. You looked at men and they stepped around and they were still hot. But women had one night stand. If they did, they were slut shamed. And I'd hear guy friends of mine who were really intelligent human beings, so I thought, saying, oh, I've met an amazing woman, but she's not girlfriend material. I'd be like, well, why isn't she girlfriend material? Well, because she slept with loads of men. And it was just sort of something bubbling in me that just made me more and more angry. And I grew up in the Middle East, so I saw a real the way women were treated out there. Went to boarding school in England, all girls, where I was taught I could be whatever I wanted. So had a real mismatch of messaging growing up. And it was back in 2004. It was when Sex and the City started, and Ann Summers, which is a big chain of sex toy shops. They hit the high street, and Lalo sex toys went into Selfridges, and there was this sort of undercurrent of kind of female sexuality coming, being allowed to be spoken about. And I just went, right, there's nothing out there. It's all run by men, the whole sex industry. I was doing some PR. One of my clients was the Erotica show, again, all adult industry related. And the more I looked, the more I saw everything was run by men. Even lingerie brand sex toy companies were all run by men, designed by men, for women. And I thought, this isn't right, and just wanted to create a space online and offline for women to be in control, for it all to be about the women, and a safe space to explore their sexuality without any judgment or anyone slut shaming, and where you could have open conversations about sex. And so that's how it started 15 years ago.
Can you have sex?
And you can have sex at the parties. So despite the Daily Mail headlines, which everyone go, orgies and massive sex parties. And to me, from day one, it's kind of been a byproduct. And I think that's where the difference is with sex with women. It's sex to us, and to turn us on is the touch, the feel, the smell, the ambience. It's we're very complicated creatures. And our biggest sex organ is our brain. So, unless we're turned on and feel respected and listened to, and you're not going to get us all out going for it. So to me, it was like, we'll set that scene and create something and focus on all those bits. You're going to get the sex if they want to. So it's so what started as sort of a monthly party where there was a lot of sex has kind of increased into now, the past 5 years we're seen as a sex tech company, because most of our revenue, sorry, I'm battling a cold, most of our revenue comes from the online world of KK. So yeah, it's sort of evolved into a kind of dating social network.
And Emirates are
Yeah.
members only. Women members, or men can be members, but women members can go to the parties, the monthly parties, with other women on their own. But for a man to attend, they have to go with someone. How does it work?
Yeah, so how it works is, well, everyone has to be a member of the online world, the online community, and we do let single men be members, and actually our membership is pretty much half 50-50, with only about 19% of our membership we've got 180,000 members, is couples. So but to attend an event, it's only the female members, and they can invite a guy. So every man that comes along has to be accompanied by a woman, whether that's in a couple or whether that's just being accompanied as friends, so to speak. And so and the rules at the party, and the rules we have across everything, the whole online world, and all the events, is that women make the first move. So if you came to a party, you'd have to wait for women to approach you. And the same online. So the same online, it's a kind of social, Facebook meets Bumble is the new platform, and you have to wait. So if you're a male member on there, you can like someone, and it will pop up that you've been liked, but unless the female likes back, you can't engage in any chat. So it stops any kind of CD messaging and nice tits type.
So we're the fish in the aquarium, and you're all looking in going, I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, exactly. And then we decide when
Lauren,
we want to go fishing.
Yeah. And Lauren, what do you think? Do you think that it would work?
I think that's great. The fact that it's up to the woman to decide, you don't get that harassment beforehand. You're not kind of pressurized into hooking up with the person just because they're persistent. You get to choose what happens.
I guess guys have got to really be on their game. They've got to have their hair brushed, teeth clean, hygiene, all their great comments, their sparkling personality. Sounds like hard work, but it's probably worth it.
It's a bit of a win-win, really, because you just go, the women feel like they're in control, and the men go, well, we don't have to make any effort because we just, we're going to get jumped. So it's sort of, each side's happy.
And you said 180,000 members.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, they're fantastic. They're all paying members.
No, so the majority are free members, but the way the site works, and actually the whole new platform, we spent the last 3 years building it. It only launched this summer, so we're now, and the apps attached to it, the chat apps launched last week. So now it's sort of increasing it works a bit like a dating site on the membership side of things. So you can join for free. Well, there's a £20 sort of subscription fee. And then you join for free, and you can search, and you can browse, and you can attend events. But if you want to send more messages, if you want to do more kind of in-depth searches, exactly like dating apps, then you get told to upgrade to premium level. And a big part of the platform is the education side of it. So we've been doing since March, so since the crazy started in March, we've been doing 1 or 2 webinars and workshops and masterclasses every week with experts from all over the world, from tantric massage to the art of approaching to just anxiety. Complete mix of confidence, a complete mix of classes, and most of them are free for premium members, or you have to pay to attend them. So it's everything about the new site is there's a lot of content, so that no matter what stage you are in your life or your relationships, whether you're single, whether you've been married for 40 years, there's something in it. It's kind of, to us, we see it as sort of the world's first kind of adult safe for work social network. You've got your Facebooks and your Instagrams, and this is adult.
I can see Dylan over here signing up for it, but can you tell the audience what the address is to sign up and become a member?
It's killingkittens.com. So killingkittens.com or wearekk.com is the one, that's the group one that's got all the bits off it.
Okay, and what topics are most discussed? What's sort of, from a female side, what's the greatest level of anxiety? Is it anal? Is it toys? Is what? And from a men's side, what is it? Do you have those
Do you know what,
insights?
from a man's side, and actually we do, and one thing we have been, we since day one, 15 years, men have been included in the conversation, and it's never been it's not a man bashing. To me, I'm a humanist, really. It's kind of, I don't care. I think growing up, moving every 2 years all over the world in every kind of culture possible, it's like I just see people as people, and so it's working together. And men, we do men only workshops, and one of the main things that men come up with is the confidence, is post Me Too, is how, and I've always said it's a minefield for men in the last 4 years of how they meant to approach women. What are they meant to say without offending? Because one woman wants the door open, the other one will say you're being a chauvinist pig. It kind of, it's sort of, so we've got some amazing experts, these two guys that are specific male coaches for relationships. So that, and also, and actually what's happened in the last few years is that there's the vulnerability in people is allowed to be spoken about. It's you're allowed to have emotions, you're allowed to, and this comes across into the workplace, as well, is that women don't have to behave like men to get ahead in work. Whereas 20 years ago, if you wanted to fit in the city, you was expected to be hard-assed and aggressive and not show emotions. And what's happened in the last 3-4 years, which I've seen massively, is this, women being women in the workplace, and actually female traits and not weaknesses are something that fit very well into the boardroom, and create that balance. And so the knock-on effect from that is that men are allowed to actually come out and be vulnerable and have emotions and communicate, that they're not doing very well. I know, imagine that for South African men, that's probably quite a big shock.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes the South African men, we get dust in both eyes,
Yeah, exactly.
And Emma, I suppose I'd describe myself as a door-opening chauvinist pig, so I'm probably right there. But,
I like my
Lauren,
doors being open. Yeah. I'm all for that.
Okay, well, there we go.
Yes,
I've got a chance now. Lauren, come on. You must have a testy question here or a comment.
Not yet, but I think quite an important question. We've got it from Anthony Contonde. How has COVID affected the whole membership? And obviously, you weren't allowed to have too many parties and that sort of thing. Did it affect it, or was your webinars and your masterclasses kind of keeping it going through lockdown?
Well, I'd be lying if I didn't say we had a gaping black hole in our global events revenue going on. That literally overnight in March, half that side of our 40% of our business gone without pennies. So I mean, it's a huge amount. But at the same time, I'm an optimist, and I know that as soon as we're allowed to touch again, which I'm hoping by March, that's what we're seeing it as, we know we'll be putting on more and more events and be totally oversubscribed on that front. So it is what it is. But yeah, so that's affect that. Where we've been lucky and where we're different from a lot of businesses is we're kind of like two businesses under one roof. We're an events business. I know that has a massive, turnover and revenue, and that global, and New York and Sydney and all around Europe events. And actually, we were meant to be hitting Cape Town November, December, January this year. We were all ready to rock. So that's that part of the business. If it was just that, it would be in trouble. But as I said, 60% of our revenues come from the online world, and we were always launching a new platform this summer. We were always launching these chat apps that we've spent 3 years building, and we were always, from January, we had started to move all the educational side of the web, and what we were doing offline workshops, we were starting to move them all online anyway. So we just had to speed that up from week one. And then from week one, we pushed into these virtual house parties for the full-on side of KK, and we've been doing them every Friday, and we've been doing them across New York time zones, Australian time zones, girls only ones. So it's filling it, that has filled some of that events revenue. I'd probably say we're up to about 40% of what we lost, has been filled by virtual events. But at the same time, the online side has grown massively. So that's covering, so it's kind of balancing.
And do you do video instruction? And let me, before you answer that,
Personally,
how do I say this without how do I say this without getting in trouble? So my gorgeous soulmate, hot wife Katie, is rock star in bed, but it takes two to tango. I think I probably contribute a bit to that, but but in terms of BJs, okay, let's talk blowjobs. She's off the charts, okay, really off the charts, and the reason is because she got taught at university, at medical school, by, not physically, but with instruments, by her two gay friends who said, girls like sex, but gay guys like cock.
Yeah.
Tough conversation. So so that's where she learned. And I always joke about it with people, and they say to her, well, why didn't you do an instructional video online? Which, of course, she doesn't want to do. But it would be, I'm sure a lot of girls, women, ladies would like to learn how to give the perfect blowjob.
We do we do those workshops. We do those workshops. We do anal play. We do
anal play.
Yeah, we do vulva massage, so men can, learn the other way around. I know your whole head's going to explode in a minute.
What's a vulva massage?
A vulva, but that's the thing. It's like part of the whole education is actually educating people, and especially women, realizing, most women don't know what bits down there are called what, and most, does anyone know that a clitoris is actually as long as a penis? Probably not. Bet you didn't know that, but it's all hidden inside. So that's the thing. The whole education side of things is how are people, I don't blame anyone, but how are people meant to know when they've never been taught? And the same as you said about the blowjob, it's like, unless people communicate, unless you learn, unless, you tell each other within a couple what you like and don't like, how's anyone meant to learn or improve? I don't think there's such thing as bad sex. Between a bad shag, if you're not going to communicate, how's it going to be good on that front?
Yeah, because each person has their own likes and preferences.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you're going to go on your previous partner, you could be totally wrong.
So I've got a very dear friend. I'm not going to mention his name, but he's going through quite a tough divorce, and for years, I think he's had very ordinary sex with his soon-to-be ex-wife. And I kind of tease him, as Katie and I tease him, we say, everybody loves spanking and pulling girls' hair, and, now and again, the sort of rape scene, the sort of rapey scene, girls love it, and anal, and he's just like, this is nonsense, nobody does this. And, the more people he's now got the courage to ask, so, oh yeah, normal, good spanking, pulling hair, everyone loves it. So I think he's beginning to realize there's a whole world of sex out there.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's a massive survey done, and like 78% of people wanted better sex. Yeah, but 85% of people of adults had watched some kind of porn or like adult content that year. It's massive.
What's your favorite? And Lauren, I'm going to ask you this too, but you're going to get a chance to think. When you're on a porn site, Emma, what's your favorite category right now?
Lesbian porn.
Okay.
And do you know what? They're in the survey as well. Most straight women, the majority, basically more straight women, their favorite category of porn is lesbian porn. It's because no women's straight. That's what I've been saying for 15 years. There's no such thing as a totally straight woman.
Because women are just beautiful creatures, and you can't help not admiring.
But Lauren, which category have you been on lately? Come on.
Rob, I wouldn't say that there's a category, but I just appreciate good production. Like, I'm going to be a typical woman here and say,
and get away with this.
There's got to be a storyline. And
see the brain. That's my thing.
Yeah. It's got to make sense, and it's got to be high quality production. Otherwise, it's just.
So I've got a funny statistic for you, and I'm going to get it slightly wrong, but in the 80s, there used to be this thing called SpectraVision in hotel rooms, which was a box, and you could pay and get a movie. I mean, really pre-digital satellite, multi-channel television. And the guy that ran it at the time, I met him, and he told me the funniest things. He said, and I get the stats wrong, he said, for a businessman who's 1 or 2 nights in the hotel, the average time they spend on an adult movie is between 3 and 7 minutes. 3 and 7. Well, you know what? You know why? You know,
Exactly.
bottle
So
of,
what's
bottle
the
of
point of
cream.
making a 20-minute
Yeah.
adult film? Let's be honest.
But exactly. But he gave me the statistics per country, and it was something like, the French 3 minutes, the Dutch 4 minutes, the English 5 minutes, and the Germans 8 minutes or something. It was hilarious how long these people lasted. You know, for me, it's probably 3-4 minutes.
But that's another myth, and that's due to porn films, is that men are meant to be able to hold out and go for. There's so many men thinking that there's something wrong with them and they're prematurely ejaculating because they do after like 2 minutes, and it's something like the average time from start to finish is actually about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. It's not, you know what I mean, but it's sort of there's that expectation thanks to porn, in the same way there's that expectation for women to make the noises you hear on porn films and all come from like penetrative sex, when actually it's something like only over 80% of women don't come through penetrative sex, which is shocks a lot of men when they hear that, and wonder whether how many have been faking it.
I've been wasting my time.
Yeah, I feel godlike when when my gorgeous wife shouts, "Oh God, oh God, oh God!" Because I was like, okay, yeah. Tell us some strange, mad story at Killing Kittens. There must be some really funny stories or crazy. Any mad ones that come to mind, or?
I'm just trying to think. Do you know what? There's always crazy stories, from the parties, from people. Well, every party people go off with different suits, so we'll get the emails the next day. But when people realize that their suit jacket doesn't match their suit trousers, or they've gone off with like their odd shoes. But we've had, I'm just trying to think. When you have a mind blank because everything
That's
that goes on.
Yeah.
So,
you see, here's the interesting thing. The sin businesses, gambling, drugs, sex. Gambling's pretty much prevalent now. You can bet on anything in pretty much any country. On the drug side, countries are legalizing cannabis. They'll be legalizing other potentially Class A drugs, and psilocybin, which is magic mushrooms, and Katie, my wife's a doctor, has been saying for 10 years, this really is a breakthrough for mental health. Forget about the magic mushroom trance dance, Africa burn sort of thing. But it's going to be a real breakthroughs in mental health, and it's happening now. Compass Pathways, we had George Goldsmith on a podcast a few months ago, raised $70 million, went public, and it's $1 billion company now, based on mental health and using psilocybin. And Nick Ferguson and Jody Alfredigan, my buddies and business partners, and I have a license in Lesotho for producing and distributing and exporting psilocybin. I think it might be the only one in the world, and we're taking that public in Canada next week. So the drugs area is, funnily enough, in return in New Zealand last week, there were 2 referendums, one on the right to die, allowing euthanasia, which got through, and then the legalization of cannabis. And you'd think those sort of Kiwi stoners would have approved it. They lost by a small margin. Yeah. But anyway, gambling, drugs, and now sex. So, you're a pioneer in this, but I think the sex industry has to be more and more legalized. Do you see that trend?
Yeah, it's extraordinary. The doors, you know what I mean? It's been 15 years, and it's a battle. It's a massive battle, and it's a battle on so many levels. Being a female founder, that's a battle in itself. Being taken seriously, that getting investment, you know what I mean, that there's huge issues when it comes to investing in female founded businesses, which I find extraordinary when like the World Economic Forum has come out with the actual statistics to say that female founded businesses outperform male founded businesses. All the data's there, all the stats are there, but there's still this kind of mindset, the messaging ingrained in male investors, and then you have the sex side on top of it, because sex is so personal. I put it out there with like religion and politics. It's such a personal thing, and the way society's been and the messaging we've had for centuries and centuries and centuries in our DNA, is that sex is a sin and it's dirty and it's, you know, and it's shameful, and well, especially for women, that's the way we think. And you know, when you look back at it, and to me it's like our sexuality drives us. It's like it's our core. It's what, you know, makes everyone who they are, beyond religion, politics and anything else. It's us as animals and what drives us. So to me, talking about it and looking after it in the same way you do mental health now, and we look at our diet and our you know, fitness plans and all the effort we put into that and the way we talk about that out in the open, why aren't we doing the same thing when it comes to our sexuality and what makes us, it's more important than anything else that makes us human beings. So to me it's like, and that is an untapped industry because of the psychology. It's the biggest industry with the biggest blocks, which purely comes down to, it doesn't come down to science or statistics, it's psychology.
40% of the content on the internet is porn. 40. I mean, it's just, you know, the porn hubs of the world are bigger businesses traffic wise than Amazon. Pornhub alone is bigger than Amazon in terms of traffic. So can you imagine that? My question though, and Lauren, you're going to get the next question, is, you know, I remember my son was 4 years old and he was on the internet playing one of these funny games. And my mother came to me and said, "Do you know what he's looking at?" And I went and had a look and said, "He's playing a game." She said, "Look in the corner." In the corner was a little cartoon, like shagging, sex cartoon. And I was so shocked I don't think he even noticed it because he was playing his Lego game or whatever. But it's, you know, you do now have access with streaming to everything. So do children grow up quicker? Are they, you know, damaged goods, or is it a more, you know, how do we deal with this? Because it really is very difficult to protect.
To me, and something I always get on my soapbox about is sex ed. I think sex education at schools is so prehistoric and hasn't kept up with what's going on in society. It hasn't kept up with porn and the dangers of the digital world when it comes to what children are exposed to. And it's all, you know, I think people bury their head in the sand and, you know, think it'll go away and think, oh well, we can't possibly speak to our children about any of this. But the bottom line is they're seeing it. You can't stop them being exposed to it. And whether that's conversations at school, kids all have their mobile phones now. They can see everything from, my 6-year-old is already coming out with stuff that he hears at school and stuff. Well, the fact he can read now and is able to read that Mummy's Business is called Killing Kittens is slightly disturbing. So, but to me, sex ed, it needs to be porn education. You need to, these teenage girls and boys need to be taught it's not real. It's like watching a James Bond film. It's fantasy, and it's not how most people behave in the bedroom. Most vaginas don't look like, and vulvas look like the perfect ones you see in porn films. It's, the whole, female pleasure. No, you never talk about female pleasure. So how are girls meant to come into their 20s, into the dating world, knowing what they want when they've never been taught it? They've never been taught where female pleasure comes from and everything like that. And your boys don't get taught it, so they just have porn to watch. So to me, bringing porn education into sex ed, regardless of if you're in a very kind of religious households or anything like that, they're going to be exposed to it. And it just, to me, it's very matter of fact. It just needs to be included along with consent and boundaries. And
took me 50 years to learn anything. Lauren, do you have any questions here? There are some great questions.
But just to speak to what Emma was just saying now, I think the fact that from when you're little, sex is bad and you're not allowed to do it, and you're not allowed to watch anything to do with it, and the only time you learn about it is in school when you learn about how girls get their period and how you get pregnant. But don't do it. It's bad. And I think you're right in bringing porn into education, and not just porn, but sex education, not just reproductive organs and how that all works, but actual sex education, that you shouldn't do it up until a certain age. And porn is fantasy, but make it more of a learning factor than a restrictive thing, if I'm making sense. But if you tell anybody you can't do that, they're just going to want to do it more.
But
And I think that's
the
what's
thing is,
happening
like,
with kids.
yeah, and why can't you
You're
do
not allowed to
it?
watch porn, so then they go and they look for the porn, and then they
Mm.
get these unrealistic expectations. And so, yeah, I think bringing sex education to younger age groups would make a huge difference. That's
So-
sort of answering Dylan's question here.
Yeah. So Dylan McKenzie is asking a question. Yeah, exactly. Children, teens learn about sex and a means to even out the taboo, which I think you've answered very, very well. To me, one of the biggest businesses in the world that hasn't been cracked yet is the dating game. I know there are lots of dating sites, but in my day, 2 generations before, parents would introduce you to your likely marriage partner, in the same class, farm, whatever you want to call it. And it made life a lot easier when they kind of said, here is the selection, or here's the one for you, end of story, or here's a selection of the people you should consider, the balls, the whatever, the parties to connect people. And it made life easier. And then our generation, you'd go to a bar or a disco, or by luck, you'd meet someone nice. And then it's sort of binary. Are they the one or not? Are they the one or not? Whereas in a business, if you're buying a business, you do oodles of due diligence, tons of interviews of the different people. You find out if you got a match, blah, 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 and still they don't work. So how does marriage, it's so imprecise, isn't it? As we're living longer, it's so imprecise. So if you can crack the dating challenge, you're going to make billions. That really is the uncracked one yet. And I love technology. I think technology is good.
Yeah, and the dating world is, it's a huge, great. What is it? Magic Labs is like worth 3 billion, I think they sold, and they got Bumble, Badoo. It's huge. And then what's the other one? The Match. I've got it. 11. The Match Group, like 11.7 billion is worth, and that has. It's the dating world is huge, but to me, I've never liked the swipe, because the minute you swipe and reject, you're kind of dehumanizing someone, and it's not. And what the heart of KK, and it has been 15 years, is the community and that sense of belonging and responsibility, and the ways of treating people. And so to us, when we've there's always been a spin-off element of the dating side, but now we're massively focusing on it, because to us is that, how can you know, like I said before, is how can you know what you want if you don't know what you want? If that makes sense. If you don't know what you like in the bedroom, if you don't know what drives you sexually, then how can you possibly know what you're looking for when you get out in the dating world? So I call it a bit of responsible dating when we're doing ours, and the metrics and the coding, and that's the other thing. It's sort of a big thing with tech. It's very male coded. Everything is the tech world is, and you think in a different way, and getting more and more women coders out there making these apps and making the tech and being involved in the process. It's a different thought process, and it's a different, the coding online is the way your brain works offline. It's that messaging. And so to us, we've had some female coders involved, and the dating, the way our platform works, is the massive advocacy, there's massive communication, there's massive education involved, and there's the dating side. So all aspects of how we've built this platform in the last 3 years, with a huge dating element to it, is that educating yourself in the process and understanding what you want to be able to communicate that with potential other halves.
Katie, my wife, has had a view that she believes that this marriage thing could be better done, and there has to be some sort of analysis of each of the two to find out if there's a better chance of it happening. Culturally, humor, intellect, political views, all of that synthesized into an algorithm. It has to be doable.
Yeah.
It really does. But let's move on to another topic that, I often joke that if I hadn't done what I've done with my career, what I'd love to do is to own a sex robot factory. And I know I joke about it, but it'd be quite cool. People say, what do you do? Say, well, I'm on the leading edge of AI and technology and engineering. But what do you do? I said, I make sex robots. I'd love to do that. And Katie and I were going to go to Japan, and we had a list of the craziest things ever because we're minimalists. We like money in the bank, big houses, but great experiences. And on the great experience, we were going to go to Japan for a week, and then COVID hit. And we had listed some of the craziest things to do, one of which was go to a sex robot factory. And I said to her, okay, so but you're going to get a male sex robot, I get a female sex robot, and that could be quite wild. And Katie said, not going to work. I went, why not? She said, you're going to get jealous and beat up the male sex robot.
Snap the head off it.
It's probably true.
But sex robots are amazing. Oh, it's it's another minefield industry.
Have you tried one?
No, I haven't. Well, okay, if you call dildos sex robots, to be honest, that's the thing. To a female, sex robots are great dildos and sex tech, and now it's amazing the amount that's out there and popping up left, right, and center. So sex robots is a very male. It's a very male thing at the moment. It's private industry. You know what I mean? It's not controlled in any way or monitored in any way. I had one of the chats I did with Professor Kate Devlin, who's amazing. Is like a world leader in robotics. She's fascinating. She wrote the book Turned On, all about sex robots, and there's this big thing about being threatened. Are they going to replace women? But actually, when you look at who has sex robots, it's not replacing. There's a big kind of part of that loneliness. A lot of men have the type of men have it. It's companionship. It's there. It's not some twisted thing that's going to replace women. And then one of the other arguments is that is it going to allow people to act out rape fantasies? So you know what I mean? Is that going to make it all dangerous? And it's kind of no, because at the end of the day, a rapist is going to be a rapist. And a robot, it's not going to tick the box in them. You know what I mean? They want a human resisting and the control over them, whereas you don't get that with a robot. So it's a really fascinating industry.
So Emma, we're going to have to wrap it really soon, but I have two questions. One's from Cam Canduff, who's in London. He asks, I don't think open relationships are easy to have, but Killing Kittens seems to make this work. How many relationships would benefit from this? And then the add-on is, has anyone met at Killing Kittens and got married?
Yeah, do you know what? And it's actually a girlfriend of mine, an old school friend. She I saw her about 3 years ago, and she was in Edinburgh, just got divorced, was like having a shocker on like Bumble and dating apps. I went, just get on Killing Kittens. She went, what are you talking about? She went, I'm not some like sex fiend. And I'm like, this is the wrong, this perception of what it is. I said, there's a massive dating side to it. So she got on there and met a guy who neither of them have ever been to an event. Got chatting, and then she messaged me about 4 months ago. It was an amazing message, just saying, you were the first person I wanted to tell. We've just got engaged. And I was like, oh. So there's lots of people that meet on there. One of my cousins, she's never been to a party, met her other half about 4 years ago, and they just had a baby in March. And again, the guy had never been to an event. So there's a big part of that. But the open relationship question.
I just want to. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, apologies. Open relationship.
That's all right. We have a lot of members who are in open relationships and polyamorous, and again, to me, it comes down to communication, and that's it's having proper conversations with each other about what you want, and actually the open relationship thing does work for a lot of people, because you realize that actually you tick every box. You're completely in love, completely perfect for each other, but you have an imbalance sexually, and that you're never going to really be able to change that. You aren't, when you've properly realized what each other wants and likes, and that's the one bit of your relationship that is imbalanced and not going to change. Then that's actually when the open relationship comes in with very kind of firm rules in place, and you realize that it's just sex, that it's not emotional cheating, it's just sex, it's that bit. It's
just the physical.
Yeah, exactly.
Too difficult, really. Emma, I just want to ask last question, and that's just what's coming in the future in terms of technology, toys, regulation. Is there something you're seeing, a vision that's coming or you'd like to see appearing? Maybe coming is the wrong word.
No, I mean, well, something we've built, and there's a huge issue at the moment, and we call it adult safe for work brands. Everything's put into the sex industry box. There's no, it hasn't been segregated yet. So there's a lot of brands out there like us, like a lot of sex toy companies, even lingerie sometimes to an extent, who are seen as adult. They're immediately ticked adult, which makes digital marketing freaking impossible. You can't push out on social media. You can't do, you're blocked left, right, and center from doing, we were talking at the beginning at KK Instagram, we've been stopped doing our Instagram lives. I've been doing every week on a Wednesday night in the past couple of weeks, and it's just you can't. So that's that side of things. So what we've built we've gone sod it. If it's not out there, build it yourself. So another thing we spent like 3 years building is a brand platform, advertising platform for adult safe for work brands to be on, that then gets pushed out to like our social network and others without any of that. So I think that is coming, because it's getting blatantly more obvious that it's an issue, and it's not a one rule, one size fits all thing. No. When it comes to the industry, it's not. And actually, sex is needed. And
sex is needed. So Lauren, I want to thank you very much. You look gorgeous, and thank you for everything you do here, for helping us. And Emma, you're a star. You're a real rock star. KillingKittens.com.
Thank you.
May you have success upon success, and may people be satisfied in all the right ways.
Yeah, and you carry on with your great blowjobs, Rob.
Yeah, that's Katie, my wife. I'm very lucky. Thanks, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks so much. It was lovely.
Bye.
Get it on.